Since leaving Aperture, Shell has been living out in the woods in a cabin, growing potatoes and beans. Aside from an occasional encounter with wild woodland creatures, she stays far away from any other living thing or machine. One day, as she's tending to her garden, she sees a box on wheels rapidly approaching her through the woods. As it reaches her, it comes to a halt. The box collapses, revealing a core. The core, named James, looks incredibly excited and relieved to have finally found Shell. James speaks in a trembling, nervous voice, telling Shell that Aperture has been infested with a virus. It's gradually making its way through the facility, destroying everything in its path. Gladys is holding it off for now, but it's getting harder and harder as the virus is taking over more and more of Aperture. She had sent James to try and find Shell, believing her to be the facility's last hope. James admits that they weren't sure if Shell was even real or if Gladys had gone mad and made her up. But now that they have found her, it means that there is still hope for Aperture, just as long as Shell agrees to come back to the facility before the virus destroys everything in it and Gladys herself. Having finished the emotional speech, James looks at Shell with a hope-filled eye as Shell takes a moment to think. Then she shakes her head, turns around, and walks away. James follows her, rolls up in front of her, and as a last resort, plays a video, one where Gladys herself reluctantly asks Shell for help, and yet she shakes her head and walks away. James looks down, upset and lost. This was a possibility Gladys had mentioned, but now that it became a reality, James does not know what to do. Returning to the facility without Shell would be pointless. It would soon be destroyed by the virus, and without bringing help, James might as well just stay in the woods and rot. So James stays around Shell's cabin, watching her do her regular chores, cut wood for the fireplace, weed and water the plants, fix up and strengthen her cabin walls. The core watches through the window as Shell cleans her cabin, cooks and preserves food, carves figurines out of wood. In the evenings, she starts a fire and then sits down on the couch by the window, opposite the only bit of technology in her home, her companion cube. They both sit on the couch facing each other, seemingly having a conversation, even though neither of them ever speaks. Shell can see James in the corner of her eye, among the trees, through the windows, watching her, moving around slowly on the wheeled platform, occasionally hiding in the collapsible box, until eventually she approaches the core. James looks up at her, confused and apprehensive. She takes a deep breath and nods. Hope and excitement spread across James's eye. She will come. They're going back, together. There is still hope for Aperture. James explains that the box on wheels has a miniature portal device in it with a single charge. It will take them back to the facility, a remote, abandoned part of it, which is still safe from the virus by force of having nothing in it which the virus could inhabit. They can go as soon as Shell is ready. Shell puts out the fire in her cabin, touches her companion cube goodbye, and gives a nod of readiness to James. James opens the portal, and Shell steps through, into the bleak, brown space of the dilapidated backrooms of Aperture Laboratories. As soon as they return to Aperture, James starts to panic, anxiously mumbling that they must have arrived too late. Shell puts her hand on James's head. The core whimpers and quiets down. Shell looks around. There's only one door and one way to go. James calms down and rolls forward. They make it through the old parts of the facility that are mostly empty. Some of them aren't easy to traverse and require creative climbing around old, broken machinery and partially collapsed walls. Eventually, they make it to a more dangerous section of the building, old testing chambers, ones that had never been used by human test subjects. They have electrical shields with special properties, one-time use portal devices, fields that offset time by a few seconds. Shell has to not only make it through the chambers herself, but make sure she gets James through as well. James has a limited hovering ability, which means that while they can move around relatively freely and follow Shell in most situations, there are certain areas, such as one that require jumping or moving over liquid, that James cannot independently traverse, requiring Shell to either carry them or find creative ways to get the core from point A to point B. At last, they make it to the slightly newer, cleaner section of the facility, and Shell finally acquires a portal gun. But this is also where things get truly dangerous, because this is the part of the facility the virus had already infiltrated. The virus starts talking to Shell. Having consumed much of the facility's memory banks, it knows who she is. It starts toying with her, breaking parts of the chambers, overriding turret protocols, moving panels and walls as she approaches them. As she reaches one of the chambers, the doors slam shut behind her, and several metal panels block off the walls and ceiling. She's in a tight metal box with no way in or out, nothing but a camera in the corner. And then she hears Gladys. She's still alive. Though she tries to be her old snarky self, worry is evident in her voice. The virus is close. There isn't much time left. Gladys will do her best to lead Shell and James toward her control center, but they need to move quickly, because the virus is heading there too. One of the panels moves, revealing a door, which leads Shell and James deeper into the facility. They have to make their way through broken test chambers, abandoned offices, elevator shafts, and service areas. Sometimes Gladys talks to them, sometimes the virus does, until eventually they hear Gladys. But something's wrong. It's not her. It's the virus. It made it to her before they did. James starts to panic. It's too late. This time, truly, it is too late. Except, not quite. Gladys is still in there. She's fighting the virus. They both speak in the same voice. Both are occupying Gladys's body. Both trying to take full control. At last, Shell and James make it to the control room, but they can't enter. It's blocked off. It can't be opened. It can't be broken into. It can't be portaled into. There's only one way to open the door. James. James needs to connect to the system and unlock the door from the inside. But of course, once the connection is established, it will only be a few seconds before the virus takes over and absorbs James's consciousness, like it has done with everything else in the facility. Shell shakes her head, tries frantically to blast through the door with the portal gun, but it's no use. James quietly reassures her, telling her that it will be okay, as long as she beats the virus. She just needs to make sure that she beats it. With that, James connects to the system. The door opens, and James's eye shuts off as the empty body of the core falls to the floor with a hollow sound.